There are a ton of audio interfaces on the market, and so it can be difficult and timely to figure out which one is the best for a particular budget or use case. So today I want to walk you through the best audio interfaces for every budget, and to keep things simple, I'm not going to include any rack-mounted interfaces or interfaces that are built into mixers. But comment down below if you do want to see videos for each of those categories in the future. Now let's assume you're just starting out and only have around $50 to work with. For that, I would recommend the Behringer UMC-22. Now, there's not really much to say about this interface other than the fact that it's probably the only interface I would recommend in this price range. It's very bare bones, but will get you one combo input, one 1/4-inch instrument input, one headphone output, and of course your two main outputs for your speakers. Behringer does sell a similar interface for around $35, but the Midas preamp built into this one is well worth it, so if you absolutely can't spend more than this, just get the UMC-22. But if these are the exact features you're wanting at the moment, but you do have a little bit more budget to work with, do yourself a favor and get yourself a Focusrite Scarlett Solo for $100. It has everything that the UMC has, but does it better, and includes a couple of other goods. Firstly, you get the switchable air mode, which you may or may not care about. You also get a more sturdy build on the Scarlett, which is to be expected. And you also get a bundle of various plugins when you register the Scarlett, so that could be useful for a lot of people who are already on a pretty tight budget. The Scarlett will likely last you longer than the Behringer. I'm not hating on Behringer. And will give you some other essential tools to get started as well. Also, I just really quickly want to say, if you're getting any value out of this video, consider leaving a like and subscribing for more videos like this one. Now, I'm going to go ahead and group the $150 and the $200 sections together because they're both from the Universal Audio Volt series. Unlike the two interfaces that I've already mentioned in this video, the Volt 1 introduces DIN MIDI, which is not only good if you have older gear that doesn't support USB MIDI, but is also just a good way of minimizing the amount of USBs that your computer is handling at a time. The Volt 1 also has a power switch on it, which is a small detail but could be important to some people. Lastly, the Volt series comes with the UA Essentials plugin bundle, which in my opinion is better than the Focusrite bundle. Just my opinion. I often see the Essentials bundle on sale for about $50, so it's not necessarily like you're saving hundreds of dollars like they make it seem at times. A lot of the plugins that come with the Essentials bundle I actually use regularly in my sessions and really love the sound of them, so I just thought it was worth a mention here. Then of course the Volt 2 is essentially the same thing as the Volt 1 but with an extra input. In the $200 price range, the two heavy hitters are this and the Scarlett 2i2, which is missing the small but notable power switch and the UA Essentials plugin that I mentioned before. By the way, there are affiliate links to each of the interfaces mentioned in this video, so if you're at all interested in that, click the link down below. It's a great way to support this channel. Now things get a bit more interesting with the best audio interface for $300, the SSL 2 Plus. The SSL takes the enjoyable things about the Scarlett and Volt 2, but adds dedicated high-pass filter buttons for each of the inputs, 2 stereo headphone outs with individual volume control, and 4 outputs on the back instead of the 2 that were present on the other interfaces. I really enjoy this sort of layout for these desktop interfaces because it allows more real estate for the various controls on board. I also think that the input metering is a step up on the SSL from what we've seen before. And surprise here, the SSL 2 Plus does come with a bundle of SSL plugins, which I've not used myself, but I've heard great things about, and the demos online sound great, so it's a nice little bonus. Now, this is where things get interesting. You take most everything about the SSL, add in some monitor and talkback controls, ADAT in and out, up to 4 stereo Q mixes, and a volume knob that also controls parameters in your DAW. What you end up with is the best audio interface for $400, the Audient ID24. In addition to the things above, you also get 2 fully balanced insert points for each of your 2 inputs, which can be useful if you're integrating outboard gear into your setup. I actually used the ID24's predecessor, the ID22, as the main audio interface in my studio, and it's incredible for all the reasons that I just mentioned. But if you're wanting to have even more ins and outs, I would recommend that we jump to the $700 budget with the Audient ID44. I realize that a $300 jump might seem like I'm skipping over a lot, but in my opinion, many of the options between the $500 and $600 range didn't quite feel worthy of the extra investment coming from the ID24 to the ID44. Much of the same stuff that you find on the ID24, you'll also find on the ID44, but with the 44, you have 2 additional preamps, an extra instrument input, and an extra set of ADAT ports, allowing you to have 16 extra ins and 16 extra outs, which is a lot. I suppose that if you have a multi-use home studio where maybe you have drums mic'd up at all times, or a ton of outboard gear, or maybe you have a ton of synths that you want to keep connected and ready to record at any given time, this would be great for that. Now, if you ask me, most people would probably be okay with one of the interfaces I've already mentioned in this video. But because of the nature of these sorts of videos, let's go ahead and talk about the Universal Audio Apollo Twin for around $800 or so. I mentioned in a recent video that I used to own an Apollo and loved it. It's built really well, sounds really good, it feels like a premium piece of gear. However, unless you really plan on relying on the Universal Audio ecosystem and using the DSP power for their plugins, I don't really think you need to spend this much money on an audio interface. On the Twin, we're down to only 2 preamps and ADAT input rather than in and out. I love UA plugins. They truly stand out from the other plugins in my arsenal, but nowadays you can run their plugins natively whether or not you own one of these interfaces. But if you really believe in this ecosystem and plan on relying it, that's who this is for. Now, just for fun, let's move into the $1,500 range with the Apogee Symphony Desktop. What I like about the Symphony is that, much like the Apollo, it has built-in DSP to save some of your computer's resources, but it handles it a bit differently. You can either use the plugins natively or use what they call dual path, where you can dial in the plugin as it's being powered by the Symphony without committing it to print. But if you do want to print your effects on the way in, there is a print mode which allows you to run your signal through the DSP processing and then prints it on the way in, much like what you would experience with a hardware workflow. On top of that, the Symphony seems to integrate really well with Logic Pro, so as a Logic Pro user, that sounds pretty appealing. But if the onboard processing just isn't your thing, I would probably recommend getting something like the ID44 and using that extra money to buy something to go alongside your interface, like an ADAT expansion or a new mic or effects or something like that. Once again, I tried to keep this list pretty simple by excluding things like rack-mounted interfaces, but if you want to see any other categories presented on this channel, let me know in the comments down below. I also want to give a big thanks to everybody who came across this channel recently and decided to subscribe. This channel recently just passed 1,200 subscribers in the past week, and so I'm extremely appreciative and surprised that even one person would be interested in sticking around for these videos. If you want to watch some more of these videos, click this video right here, and as always, thanks for hanging out.